If you're about to be laid off, or if you're thinking about leaving the federal workforce, or if you're thinking about taking that retirement, here are the 5 things you need to know before moving your TSP to your IRA, and I'll get straight to the point. Let's start with the easy one first. When you decide to move money out of your TSP, you've got two main options: a direct rollover or an indirect rollover. A direct rollover is simple. Your money moves straight from your TSP to your new retirement account. An indirect rollover means that you get a check from your TSP and then you have 60 days to make that deposit into your IRA. With a direct rollover, since your money moves straight from one account to another, there are no taxes withheld, no deadlines, no stress. It's like a VIP transfer from your retirement savings. As for indirect rollover, TSP is required to withhold 20% for taxes. So if you want to roll over the full amount, you have to replace that out of pocket. And as I said earlier, you've got 60 days to deposit that check into your IRA, or it gets treated as taxable income. And if you're under 59.5, you could face an extra 10% penalty. So there's almost no reason for you to do an indirect rollover unless you're about to become homeless and you have a plan to have that cash together within 60 days. If you ask me, a direct rollover is always better because it eliminates unnecessary risks, saving you money, and keeps things simple. So unless you like unnecessary headaches and handing over chunks of your money to the government, I recommend you always go with a direct rollover. And something else to keep in mind before rolling over your traditional TSP into a traditional IRA is you're going to end up losing the rule of 55. So if you leave federal service in the year you turn 55 or later, the rule of 55 lets you start withdrawing money from your TSP penalty free. And there's no 10% early withdrawal penalty that usually hits you if you take money out before 59.5. It's one of the best loopholes out there for early retirees. And traditional IRAs play by different rules. They don't care if you're 55, 56, or even 58. If you pull money out of an IRA before you're 59.5, Uncle Sam slaps you with a 10% penalty. So if you're thinking about retiring early and tapping into your funds before then, rolling your TSP into a traditional IRA could be like locking your money in a vault and throwing away the key, or at least until you hit that magic number, 59.5. Now, if you're not planning on touching your retirement savings early, this rule might not matter to you, but if you like the idea of financial freedom before 60, moving your TSP into a traditional IRA could cost you thousands in penalties just for trying to access your own money. Now, that's not exactly a win. So something to keep in mind is that if you're in your 50s right now and you want to retire at age 53, then you might want to consider waiting a few more years until you hit 55 to take advantage of the rule of 55. But if you're looking to leave the service way before you're 55, then you can consider putting it in your traditional IRA. Unless your new employer's 401k plan comes with a rule of 55, then you can roll that traditional TSP over to your traditional 401k. And you just want to make sure that your new employer has that benefit installed in your 401k plan. Now, let's get into something a little trickier, and that's the pro rata rule. And it sounds boring, I know, but listen closely to this one because it could seriously mess up your retirement tax strategy. So here's the thing. If you roll your TSP into a traditional IRA in pre-tax dollars, and at some point in your career, you start making more money than the Roth IRA income limits, then you probably want to start thinking about doing the backdoor Roth conversion to not miss out on the tax-free growth in your Roth IRA, right? The problem with the backdoor Roth IRA conversion is when you have a mix of pre-tax dollars and after-tax dollars in your traditional IRA, the IRS doesn't let you just pick and choose which dollars get converted. Nope, they mix everything like a bad smoothie. So if you have both pre-tax and after-tax money in your IRA, the IRS applies the pro rata rule, meaning any Roth conversion has to be a proportional mix of taxable and non-taxable funds. You cannot just convert the after-tax portion and call it a day. So let me give you an example. Let's say you have $50,000 of pre-tax money and $7,000 of after-tax money sitting in your traditional IRA. You decide to convert $7,000 to a Roth IRA using a backdoor Roth conversion strategy. Since your total IRA balance is $57,000 and only 12% of it is after tax, that means only 12% of your $7,000 in backdoor Roth conversion or $840 is considered tax-free. The remaining $6,160 is taxable income because 88% of your $57,000 portfolio is in pre-tax dollars. You just got hit with an unexpected tax bill. So if your marginal tax rate is 24%, then you're going to end up owing $1,478.40 in federal income tax. Yikes. You don't want that. And here's the worst part. You cannot undo it. Once you trigger a Roth conversion, there's no takesy-backsies, okay? It's like accidentally sending an email with reply all with something dumb. You can't take it back, and now everyone's judging you. So if you have after-tax money mixed with pre-tax money in your traditional IRA, the pro rata rule can make Roth conversions way more expensive than you planned. So if your income right now is above the Roth IRA income limits, you want to keep the traditional IRA balance at zero so that you can have a clean Roth conversion every year without paying any additional taxes. So what should be your next move? If you're trying to avoid the pro rata mess, I recommend you keeping your money in the TSP or roll it into another pre-tax employer-sponsored retirement account like a 401k, 403b, or 457. Here's why. Employer-sponsored plans like the TSP, 401k, or 403b do not have the pro rata problem because they don't allow after-tax contributions in the same messy way IRAs do. You cannot mix pre-tax and after-tax dollars in the traditional TSP, traditional 401k, or traditional 403b. If you still don't understand how this works, you can schedule a consultation with me by visiting firestation.com/consultation. And just when you thought you could let your retirement money sit and grow forever, the IRS swoops in like, nope, it's time to start spending. That's exactly what happens with required minimum distributions, which is the mandatory withdrawals the government forces you to take from your pre-tax retirement accounts, whether you need the money or not, okay? And guess what? If you roll your TSP into a traditional IRA, you're still on the hook for RMDs. Once you hit age 73, or if you're not turning 75 until the year 2033, the IRS starts making you withdraw a percentage of your balance every year. And surprise, surprise, it's fully taxable income, right? Now, why does the IRS do this? Simple. They've been waiting decades to tax your money, and they're not about to let you keep deferring forever. If you don't take your RMD on time, you'll get hit with a nasty 25% penalty. If you correct the RMD within 2 years, then the penalty may be reduced to 10%, but that's still a lot, right? So what's the key takeaway here? If you don't need to take money out of your retirement accounts, but you're forced to because of RMDs, it could push you into a higher tax bracket, which leads to bigger tax bills and potentially higher Medicare premiums. This is why some people choose to do Roth conversions before they hit their RMD age, because Roth IRAs and Roth TSPs don't have RMDs at all. There's also a rumor that the TSP might start letting you do an in-plan Roth conversion in 2026, but I will let you guys know if I see the official update, so be sure to subscribe if you haven't done it already. In short, moving your TSP into a traditional IRA doesn't get you out of RMDs. It just shifts the problem to a different account. If you want to avoid forced withdrawals down the road, it might be worth looking into Roth conversions while your tax rate is still lower. But keep in mind that once you decide to convert your traditional TSP to a Roth IRA, that's it. Game over. There's no undo button, no whoopsies, my bad to the IRS. You cannot move it back to a traditional TSP, traditional IRA, or somewhere else. You can, however, move your traditional IRA back to your traditional TSP if you choose to. You just cannot do that with the Roth IRA. It is an irreversible process. So before you make the move, be 100% sure it is the right call for your financial future. Because here's where things get real. By the way, did you know that over 50% of Americans who make over $100,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck? So is it always an income problem or a spending problem? If you're having trouble figuring out your budget, I encourage you to download a budgeting app called YNAB. YNAB stands for You Need a Budget. That's right. Whether you make $50,000 a year or $300,000 a year, every one of you needs to create a budget to achieve financial independence. You need to give every dollar a job so that you can be more intentional with your savings and spending. You can get a free trial without any credit card information by using the link in the description below. Rolling money from a traditional TSP, which is pre-tax, into a Roth IRA, which is post-tax, means you owe federal income tax on the entire amount you convert it, not just a little bit, right? Think of your income as a stack of pancakes. And the first layer for singles earning under $11,925 or married couples under $23,850 is taxed at 10%. As your income stack grows, the tax syrup thickens to 12% for the next layer. From there, the IRS takes larger bites with rates climbing to 22%, 24%, and beyond. So the best time to convert is when you have very minimal income. Would you rather convert it at 12% marginal tax rate or 24% marginal tax rate? That's $1,200 versus $2,400 for every $10,000 you convert to your Roth IRA. But there's more. State taxes can also come for their cut, depending on where you live. If you're chilling in Florida, Texas, or Nevada, like me, congrats, no state income tax for you. But if you're in California, New York, or Oregon, you could be looking at up to 13% extra on top of your federal income tax. And if you're over 65, a big income bump could even increase your Medicare premiums, because why not add one more surprise bill, right, IRS, right? So what's the smart move? To avoid a massive tax hit all at once, some people do partial conversions over several years, like eating a big meal in smaller bites. Instead of all at once, others wait for a low income year at a lower tax rate. The bottom line is, before making the switch, you should know your tax bracket. Otherwise, that smart Roth move could turn into a very expensive lesson in IRS math. And if you decide to do the Roth conversion, you need to remember the 5-year Roth conversion rule, like I talked about in the other video, because each Roth has its own separate 5-year holding period. And if you convert money in 2025, the 5-year clock for that conversion kicks off on January 1st, 2025. Convert more in 2027, that batch gets its own 5 years timer starting on January 1st, 2027. Simple, right? You just have to keep in mind that the IRS isn't just checking the time once, because they've got multiple stopwatches running, one for every single conversion you make. It's like meal prepping for the week and putting each dish in the fridge with a different expiration date. Some will be ready sooner, but if you grab the wrong one too early, congrats, you just gave yourself a tax stomachache. Now, here's the real stinger. If you take out converted funds before you hit 59.5, the IRS slaps you with a 10% penalty, not just on your earnings, but on the entire pre-tax amount you converted. That's right. The IRS does not care that you already pay taxes when you convert it. You touch it too soon, boom, penalty. Yeah, you pay for it, but guess what? These are the stupid rules that we have to follow. Now, once you turn 59.5, you're free to withdraw converted funds penalty-free, but don't pop the champagne just yet, because your earnings are still subject to the 5-year contribution rule. I know, it's dumb, but if that clock isn't up, you could still owe taxes on any investment gains you withdraw. So at this point, you're probably thinking, okay, but how does the IRS even track this? Excellent question. The IRS has a very strict withdrawal order, and it works like this. First, they assume you're pulling out your original contributions, which are always tax-free and penalty-free. Once those are gone, they move on to converted amounts, starting with the oldest conversions first. And only after you've drained all that do they even touch your earnings. That makes sense so far, right? Now, moving a Roth TSP to a Roth IRA is a whole different ballgame. There's no massive tax bill, no big shockers, just a couple key rules to be aware of. For Roth contributions, this is the money you put in after taxes. You can withdraw these anytime, no penalty, no problem. For Roth earnings, this is the money your investments made inside Roth TSP. If you pull this out too early, the IRS is waiting with a 10% penalty. So when you go to your TSP website, make sure to write down how much total you contributed in Roth and how much of that is in earnings. All of my private clients have the Roth tracker, because this is extremely important for you to track, especially if you're thinking about early retirement. And why does this matter? Because when you roll your Roth TSP into a Roth IRA, the earnings clock resets. That leads us to our next point. Even if you've had a Roth TSP for 10 years or more, when you move it to a Roth IRA, the 5-year Roth rule resets unless you already have an existing Roth IRA that's at least 5 years old. And what does this mean? If you try to take out Roth earnings before 5 years are up, and even if you're over the age of 59.5, you could get hit with taxes on those earnings, not the 10% penalty, but the income taxes. But if you're under the age of 59 and a half, then you'll get hit with taxes and the 10% penalty. That makes sense so far, right? So if you're planning to retire early and tap into your Roth TSP, it's better to move it to a Roth IRA so that you can tap into your contributions early. But you want to leave those earnings in the Roth IRA until you turn 59 and a half and have the account open for at least 5 years. Look, your TSP represents years of hard work, and one wrong move could cost you thousands. And before you decide to roll it into an IRA, you must fully understand first the 5 key things we've discussed: the rule of 55, the pro rata rule, RMDs, 5-year contribution rule, and the 5-year conversion rule. This isn't just about numbers, it's about your financial freedom. So take your time, get the right advice, and make an informed choice. Your future self will thank you. But if it's still all confusing, you can check out my website or schedule a one-on-one consultation with me at firestitcher.com/consultation. Let's make sure your retirement stays yours on your terms. And this has been another beast of a video, and I hope you got a lot out of it.